Hey guys, welcome back to Mechanics Live. This is Art, and today I'm going to show you how to replace an alternator on a 2001 Kia Rio. And the way I do this job is all from the top. I do not go underneath, I do not drain the oil, I do not remove the filter. It's very simple, very quick. It should take you about maybe 25 minutes to remove the alternator from the vehicle. So obviously, first things first, you want to remove the cover, which is explainable by itself. 10mm bolts, 4 of them. You remove the cover, you place it on the side. Next thing you want to do is there's a bolt, a 12mm bolt right here. You just remove that. Usually I use a longer ratchet, and then I use my Milwaukee tool to get it out because I don't want to put too much stress on it because it's pretty tight. So you take this one off, and then there's one more bolt right here that's sitting right there. Same thing, you put this guy right here and you just remove it, or you use obviously a wrench to do the same job. Now if it's blocking the view, as you can see there's a hole right here. If it's right here, then all you gotta do is get a 19mm wrench and just put it on top and just move the pulley back and forth just to get it to the right position. From there, when we get this out, we pull this bolt all the way out. Let's remove this guy, put this bolt back into our bolt bin. Now, easiest way, you disconnect the O2 sensor. Well, obviously, first of all, I'm sorry, you got to remove the battery terminal, obviously the negative side. So from there, you remove the plug for the O2 sensor, and obviously if you have the tool, if not, this is where it really depends on if you want to go from the bottom of the car or you want to go from the top of the car. And you would get a tool. Where is it? You would get an oxygen sensor removal tool, which is on a long bar, and all you gotta do is just connect it through here. And obviously I already loosened it, so if it's really hard for you to do it, then you just get a longer bar and just unscrew it like this, put it back, and then just unscrew the O2 sensor. Put it right there. Now we're clear. I already have done this. This is a warranty repair, so I've left this loosened. So you remove these 3 nuts, and you want to do this on a cold engine. You don't want to do this on a hot engine. You remove these 3 12mm bolts. Alright, this one's a little bit harder. So let's get this guy out. Get this one out. And now, before we do that, what we're going to do is remove the belt. Since the pump is loose now, we're going to remove the belt by taking a small screwdriver and just put it in here, and like that. Now this can be moved very easy. Remove this guy from here and make sure that hose right there is going to go around the alternator pulley, so you can pull it up just like this. So that's the one I was telling you was getting caught on the alternator pulley, so you can move the pump right here. So now you have this bracket that you need to remove, and obviously the alternator is right here. So the next thing we're going to do is take the 14mm and extension 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're going to use our now before you do that, this will fall off. So you remove this and put it aside. You can do it by hand so you don't lose it. Just like that. Now you remove this bracket, put it aside. Now you remove the bracket. Now, when this is loose, we're gonna remove this guy by just tugging on it slowly, back and forth. You'll get it. There you go. So this cover is off. Move that cover. And why I said to do it on a cold engine, because this is gonna be extremely hot if you're doing it on a warm, even a warm engine. It gets hot really fast, the exhaust manifold. The next thing, what you wanna do is, I don't know if you can see that. Do you see this bolt right here that's holding the dipstick? So we're gonna go ahead and put our 12mm socket on an extension, just like that. Remove this, put it on a ratchet, just like that, and get inside there and unscrew it, pull it out. Put it back in my Milwaukee here. You could just drop it on the floor. Well, that's for me. If you have a shield, don't do that. And then all you gotta do is just move it aside, just like that. Really simple. Then you get a 10mm. 10mm on here, and you get this guy off. 1, 2, I don't have it there. Put this aside. Now this guy is loose. As you can see, the fan, pull it up. So eventually you get the fan assembly out, which you saw me take off on one screw here, one screw here. You wiggle this guy around and you pull it out from here. Make sure that there's a piece right here. We got to go around it to pull it out. Next thing you want to do is disconnect this plug. Got this. Then there's going to be a cap right here with a 12mm socket, 12mm bolt. Get that. Remove the nut and drop this whole cable on the bottom. You don't need that. Put it back inside. Now, the bolt that people were referring to was this bolt by the oil filter, which you can get it by hand. Well, you can get it through the top. You don't have to go to the bottom. You don't have to remove the filter. All you gotta do is put one of those extensions. Get a smaller ratchet, something similar to this guy, something like this, and put the extension on, just like that, and you can reach it from here to the socket easily, and you have enough room to wiggle it to loosen it. You don't have to take off the whole nut. You don't, because it's a you'll see what I mean. So when that's loose, all you gotta do is get this tension right here loose, right over here. Just like that. And then we're gonna loosen the tension here. Just like this. Now we're gonna raise it up. And we're gonna unscrew it all the way out. Just like that. we'll get this whole thing out. Assembly's out. Come on. Okay, we'll get this whole thing out, and the way it sits is going to be with a longer portion downward, so it's sitting like this, like that. So we'll remove that, put it aside. Now your alternator can be moved just like that. Push it up, remove the cable, remove the belt, and all you gotta do is just wiggle it out from there. You can remove, if you want to, you can remove that nut that I was telling you, which looks like this, and it's gonna have 2 washers on it. I'll show you which washers those are. So I can get them. There you go. So one is gonna be a regular washer, the one is a compression washer, just like that. So the first one goes the regular washer, then the compression, and then the nut. So we'll put that aside. We literally don't have to do this, but just for the video's sake, I removed it, and I'm gonna show you how to remove that bolt too. That's only if you need to, you really don't. That's the bolt, and it has a square head, and I'll show you why it has a square head. At this point, again, you just need to remove it just like so, and set the camera like this, and pull out the alternator. Now the alternator is in my hands, and this is where the bolt was going into, and this is why it's a square head. When you put this bolt in, it locks it in place so it doesn't twist when you're turning it. And why I said you don't really have to pull it out, you could just loosen the nut, is because, as you can see, it has a open end right here for you to loosen the nut and pull it out. That's your oil filter. Like I said, you don't have to pull it out. This took me literally I don't know, 15 minutes. If I didn't have the camera, it would probably be even faster. The only problem you might have is the oxygen sensor, taking it off. But again, if you have an extension, a breaker bar, and the right tool, you can take that off, no problem. Pretty simple. So now we're going to repeat the process, going back and installing the new alternator, which is a Denso alternator. Now, a little story, backstory. I came out to this vehicle 4 times. Now, the reason I came out 4 times was because the alternator kept on failing. So I'm not going to mention the name of the auto parts store, but it was Reman alternators, and 3 in a row failed, including, well, the original one, including so I just didn't want to look like a fool in front of the customer. So what I ended up doing, I ordered it from Worldpack and got it in, picked it up today, and I'm going to replace it with a brand new one. This is not a Reman, this is brand new by Denso. It's going to go back into this car, and we'll see how it performs. So let's go ahead and put this guy back in. So we get the square head bolt back, and now we'll put this guy in here. Obviously with one hand is not easy to do, but we're going to put it back just like so. We're going to put one washer on one side, then we're going to put the compression washer on the other, then we're going to take the nut so then we're going to put this nut on just like that. We're not going to tighten it, so you can see it's loose. And we're gonna lower down the alternator all the way back here. As you can see, I just dropped my bolt in there like that. And then by hand, you can tighten it just a little bit. So it's sitting like this at this point. At this point, what we're gonna do is get the belt for the alternator. Got it around it. Well, obviously first you gotta get it on the crankshaft pulley. So you gotta move this hose a little bit just to get the belt back on. And obviously nothing's tightened, everything's still moving. The bottom bolt is not tightened. Next thing what you want to do is placing the, should I have my, is placing the tensioner back on. You have to align it. First you get the bolt right here. Like that. And then you get the bolt on the bottom. There you go. Now we're gonna tighten this guy. Now we're gonna go ahead and tension the alternator after we put the belt back on. We're just gonna press like that. Then we're gonna check the tension. Perfect. Now we're just gonna tighten this guy. Just like that. We're gonna get a ratchet and just make sure that it's tight. There you go. So I had to replace the bolt because the other bolt went bad. So now the alternator is in place. The belt tension is good. All we have left is to tighten this last one. If you remember, we're gonna get, sorry about that. We're gonna get our 12mm small ratchet. We're gonna go right here. Like that, and we're just gonna tighten it. Just like that. So that's tight. The alternator's tight. We're gonna put the B-post back on. Get a nut, screw it in, that, get our same 12mm ratchet, and tighten it. So that's good. We can close this guy up. Then we're gonna get our plug. Same thing, plug this guy back in. Our alternator job is finished. Now we're just gonna reassemble everything back. Well, the first thing what we're gonna do is put the fan back on. That's the fan assembly. So we're just gonna slide it back in carefully. I'm gonna put the camera down for this, just like that. Remember, you have to move the oil dipstick to get it in. There you go. So once that's in, you have to align it with the grooves on the bottom. Make sure that it's sitting correctly, just like so. Now we're gonna get our 10mm bolt. We're gonna add this bolt right over here. And where's our 10mm socket? 10mm on a ratchet. Tighten it. Go. That I'll get later at the end. So that's done. Next thing you want to do is tighten the bolt for the dipstick, which is going to be this one right over here, that one right there. And the way I do this, I get I'll do a setup like that, and I put the bolt on top, and I slowly align the dipstick, and go slowly right there. I'll go ahead and tighten it now. There we go. I'm tightening it. One more. There we go. Doesn't really have to be tight. I mean, it's just a dipstick. Next thing, we're gonna put the heat shield back on, which slides just like so, and is held on a couple of bolts. That's one. That's two. And then, so the first two are gonna have these little loose washers. The third one is not gonna have a washer, and the one in the middle at the bottom, this one right there, just like that. Now we're gonna get our 12mm. If I find it, where did it go? Okay. Put it on an impact wrench. Tighten these guys. Didn't need an extension for that. And the last one. Just like that. Now this is on. Next thing, you're gonna grab your O2 sensor. Screw it back in. Be careful with it. Do not break any wires or anything like that. Just carefully screw it back in. Same time, start twisting the wires. Now we're gonna put our tool, which you go to any auto parts store, it'll tell you what it is. It's called an oxygen removal tool. There's two different ones. There's one that looks like that, and then there's one that looks like this, which obviously for this job it wouldn't work, or maybe it would. I haven't even tried, to be honest, but I'd rather go with this tool. It's a little more comfortable. So we tighten this guy like that. And then obviously you want to get a really good tight, you want to make it really tight. After you got that tight, reconnect the connector. Oops. Like that. And then put the wire loom into this metal groove and press on it. There you go. It's closed. Now the only thing that's left is the power steering pump, which is very simple, obviously. I'm gonna move my charger, remove all that stuff. So first things is the bracket. The bracket is gonna go just like so, like this. So once we get these three in there by hand, so it's still moving, this guy with a little lip here is gonna go behind it and basically holding right onto under the valve cover right here. So what you do is you'll take a bolt, put it inside the setup right here, like that, and then you just tighten all of that together. So we'll start with the bottom one, like that. Obviously, since this is a bracket and it's holding the power steering, we're going to do an extra to tighten it. That's good. Now, last thing is pulling the pulley, the power steering pump, back into its groove right here, like that. We're going to take this big bolt and we're going to place it right over here. And we're going to move the pump like that, and then you have to glide it through for it to get up to this much inside, so it's held. At this point, we are going to use a 12mm socket and tighten it just a little bit, like that. Now, we're going to get the belt and put the belt back on, just like that. Just snaps back on. Nothing too special. And like I said, this is where the bolt goes in, this guy. But since this groove is not shown, we're going to take our 19mm and just make sure until I can get to it somewhere around here, right there. So now I'm going to take my wrench, like that, and I'm gonna slowly, just like that. Now before you tighten it, now's the time where you have to put pressure down like that, because you see the belt is moving. Pressure down and then tighten it. So I'm gonna use two hands to do that, and again both of them. So first you use your left hand and you tighten this guy, then you use your right hand and you tighten this guy, and after that you should be good to go. The belt's on, the bottom belt's on, pump was off, everything's back to connected. The last thing is This connector right here is going to the power steering pump, like so, right here. And then the other one is going to your fan assembly, right there. So now you got your fan, and the last one that we need to tighten is this guy. Put it on. There you go. So I've started the vehicle. It's running right now. We're going to look at the voltage. 14 volts. Charging at idle, which is beautiful. That's what it's supposed to be. And this was the whole job. So in reality, on this video, it's probably going to be like 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Now imagine how long it's going to take when you're concentrated and you're using your both hands, so it's going to be much easier. So again, I wouldn't recommend going underneath the vehicle. I mean, anything beats going underneath. If it's from the top, you can do it from the top. It's the safest option out there. Check it out. Let me know what you guys think, and comment, subscribe, and share this video. Thank you guys. See you on the next time.